Hey everybody, welcome back to Tanner's Books and Beyond in day 19 of VEDUS. Today I read some pretty good stuff. I had the second act of Verily, A New Hope, as well as the short story Fully Operational from a Certain Point of View, written by... I completely forgot who wrote this. Beth Revis. This story focuses on General Taggy and the other Imperial chiefs that had that little staff meeting on the Death Star to discuss the rebellion and the stolen plans and how the station is going to be fully operational really soon. I really like this because it gives a really interesting perspective, not the Imperial perspective, but just a broad perspective, because Taggy's characterization is that he's the kind of person who likes to look at all the pieces. He sees the stolen Death Star plans, he sees the coordinated attack on Scarif, and he sees the dissolution of the Senate, all factors that are going to cause the rebellion to really come together and be a credible threat to the Death Star. He hears people talk about how great the Emperor is, and how great Vader is, and how great the Death Star is, and he bites his tongue because he doesn't want to tell them, you know, the rebellion's getting pretty good too. Like, they seem to have a lot more resources than we thought they did, and this station is going to be just as much a target for them as it's going to be a threat to them. It also highlights a line that I have completely dismissed on all of my previous viewings of A New Hope, and that's when Tarkin comes in and he tells the chiefs that the Emperor has completely dissolved the old Senate, and basically all traces of the old Republic are now gone. This story really highlights that line, and kind of implies that this action may have been the true downfall of the Empire, because the Empire itself wouldn't have even existed without Palpatine's manipulations behind the scenes. He was able to twist the Senate into making him Supreme Chancellor, and then giving him special powers, and getting the army built. He's the one who basically told the Senate, hey, let's become an empire instead of a republic, and then things just snowballed from there. But now the Senate's gone, and he's gotten rid of any bureaucratic body that people could hide behind, and Taggy points out that, like, people like hiding behind bureaucracy. They like being able to put their trust in a slow-moving government system because they don't have to do anything. But when you take that away, and the only option left to get what you want is to grab a blaster and fight, that's what people are gonna do. And he is correctly predicting, though he doesn't know it yet, that this action is basically what turns the rebellion into essentially a new political party instead of just a bunch of freedom fighters against the opposing government. This turns the rebellion into something that is the best possible option for people. They become that entire armada that goes against the Empire in the final battle in Return of the Jedi, and this was the spark of it. This, along with all the stuff that happened in Rogue One and the theft of the plans and Luke's actions as well, these were all the major factors that allowed the rebellion to become as powerful as it is. And fun fact, today's story also crossed over with the play, because yes, that scene in Certain Point of View is also one that I read in Act 2 of Verily, A New Hope. So we finally hit the intersection day, and now we're going beyond New Hope. We are going past Certain Point of View into the realms unknown, or not quite unknown, because I already know exactly everything that's going to happen. You get my drift, though. Anyways, Act 2 of this was also really good. We got two great monologues. The first one was from Vader, and it's not super long, but it really highlights how much Anakin has changed since the end of the prequel trilogy. He talks about how he only barely humors the politicians and the politics that are going on, how he's completely fed up with anything involving bureaucracy or government bodies, and he is solely devoted to the power of the Emperor and the dark side. And so he's the guy who will do as his Emperor bids, and he will cleanse the galaxy of the rebellion, because that's what the dark side demands. Not what the Empire wants, it's what his master wants. And then the second monologue is the one that closes off this act, because it's when Luke finds the homestead on fire and finds the bodies of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. He has this really emotional outpouring about how his lust for adventure may have saved his life, but it's also what ultimately led to the deaths of his last remaining family members, and now he has nothing except for Obi-Wan and the droids. So basically he gives Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru a eulogy, talking about how great they were, how much he's gonna miss them, and that he's not just going with Obi-Wan because it's no choice, but he feels like becoming a Jedi and taking down the Empire is the best way to honor their memories. It's really touching. I really liked it. And I mentioned way back at the beginning of this series how I want to make a list of the best monologues in these books, and if I do that, then that is definitely gonna be on that list. And that concludes today's VEDUS update, but if you want to see more of me vlog every day until Star Wars, or you just want to check out some of my other non-Star Wars videos, because I do have lots of those too, trust me, you can subscribe to my channel, or you can check me out on social media, which I've linked below. And until tomorrow, I'll see you all later.